Thank you for choosing Aurora Rally Equipment, and welcome to the installation video of the Aurora Rally Adventure Kit for KTM, Husqvarna, and Gas Gas enduro bikes. We will guide you step by step on how to install the kit on your bike. Installation should take 3 to 5 hours in total, depending on your skill level. Please remember that if you don't feel comfortable at any stage of the installation, to contact either a professional or us. Prevention is always better than a cure. Start by carefully opening the kit box. Take out the kit parts and put them on a clean surface. Start disassembling the bike by removing the headlight mask. Disconnect the light harness and store away. Cut the zip ties from the cables. Disconnect every connector with the help of a flat screwdriver. Use the screwdriver to detach the connectors from the plastic bracket. Remove the 2 bolts that secure the Speedo on the bracket. Remove the Speedo. Remove the 2 bolts and the bracket. Cut the zip tie that secures the harness on the bracket. Store the bracket away. Remove the seat from the bike. On KTM and Gas Gas, you just undo 2 visible 8mm bolts, one on each side. On Husqvarna, you have to remove the rear left side panel and undo 1 8mm screw. Remove the side panels. First, remove the 8mm screws on the radiator guards. Then remove the 6mm screws that support the side panels on the fuel tank. This procedure is almost identical on all brands. It's only the location of the bolts that differs. Time to remove the fuel tank. Disconnect the fuel line. Disconnect the fuel pump connector. Remove the breathing hose from the steering head. Remove the 8mm bolt that secures the tank on the frame. Put the tank in a safe place. Make sure that no fuel spillage occurs. Time to remove the rectifier. Disconnect both rectifier connectors and set them loose. If needed, cut any zip tie that keeps these cables secured on the frame. Remove the 2 8mm bolts that secure the rectifier on the frame. Use a flat screwdriver and remove the plastic frame covers from both sides of the frame. Detach the throttle cables from the plastic guide. Remove the top screw of the plastic guide. In order to remove the plastic guide from the bike, you have to remove the right radiator. Put the bike on its side stand and remove the 2 8mm screws of the radiator guard. Remove the radiator guard. Loosen the top hose clip. Put a cloth between the radiator and the frame. Pull the radiator from the top hose. Remove the lower screw of the plastic guide. Remove the guide from the frame and put back the radiator. Install the radiator guard and secure the top hose clip. Remember to fill up the radiator with coolant after finishing the installation. Use a small pair of pliers to replace the overflow hose with the one that came with the kit. Route the new hose toward the lower part of the frame. It is really important to install at least the upper spacer. We advise you to install both, and we will show you how to install both the upper and the lower spacers into the frame. Failing to install the upper spacer may result in damaging your frame when you tighten the clamp. If your bike model year is between 2017 and 2019, follow this procedure to install the spider clamp spacers inside the frame. Insert a screwdriver from the left side of the bike to help you remove the plastic support for the wiring harness and the fuel tank breathing hose. Be patient, otherwise you may damage these parts like we did. Remove this 8mm screw from the coolant pump. Put a bucket underneath the bike to collect the coolant fluid. Lean the bike towards the right side for the coolant to come out. Put back the bolt and torque according to specification. Loosen up the hose clips, 2 at the lower part of the radiator and another one at the top. Repeat this procedure on the left radiator. Remove the radiator guard from both sides. Remove the radiator. First, pull it out from the top hose, then detach it from the 2 lower hoses. Use a flat screwdriver and remove the right hose mount. Repeat this procedure and remove the left hose mount. Loosen the hose clip on top of the engine. Detach the hose from the engine and pull it downward. There's no need to remove it from the frame. Pull it just as much as needed to clear the space for our hands to work through the holes. Take the spacer with the longer zip tie. This is the lower spacer. Install it on the lower position inside the frame. Use a screwdriver to catch the spacer through the mounting hole. Push the screwdriver inside the spacer as if you want to reach the other end. Align the spacer with the hole on the opposite side by pulling the screwdriver toward the top. When done, push the screwdriver fully in. This way, the tip of the screwdriver will come out from the other side. Pass the zip tie to the other side and proceed with the top spacer using the same procedure. There's enough space to use your fingers to align the spacer with the holes. When done, do not cut the zip ties. Leave them inside the frame as they'll be helpful if you ever want to remove the spacers. Reinstall the radiators on the bike by reversing the removal procedure. In order to refill the radiators with coolant, follow the procedure described in the bike's repair manual. If you don't have the skills to do this, finish the kit installation and get the bike to your mechanic to refill the cooling system. Warning: do not start the bike with no coolant in. If your bike model year is between 2020 and 2022, follow this procedure to install the spider clamp spacers inside the frame. Install the lower spacer inside the frame. It's the one with the longer zip tie. Put a flashlight on the other side to help you better see what you're doing. In order to reach the spacer's destination, you must pass it through an oval opening that's not clearly visible from the outside. We made an animated video to help you visualize what's going on inside the frame and help you understand the procedure. You can always go the hard way and remove the radiators, just like we did for the older bikes, but we suggest to at least try without removing the radiators. It's not as difficult as it may look in this video. Use a screwdriver to catch the spacer through the mounting hole. Push the screwdriver inside the spacer as if you want to reach the other end. Align the spacer with the hole on the opposite side by pulling the screwdriver toward the top. When done, push the screwdriver fully in. This way, the tip of the screwdriver will come out from the other side. Pass the zip tie to the other side and proceed with the top spacer using the same procedure. There's enough space to pass a finger or a screwdriver through the opening and help align the spacer with the holes. When done, pass a screwdriver in each hole from the left side of the bike. Time to put the frame covers back in place. This time, we'll use them to secure the end of the spacer zip ties, one on each side. We will not cut them as they'll be helpful if you ever want to remove the spacers from the bike. The cover on the left side of the bike acts as a guide for the clutch hose. Do not put this hose in the guide as this will interfere with the spider clamp. You can use a zip tie to secure the hose on the outside of the guide. Time to prepare the spider clamp for installation. Remove the front bolts and the nuts for the clamp. Loosen all 6 set screws. Align the right part of the spider clamp with the holes on the bike's frame. Mark the point where the upper end of the clamp meets the headstock. Install the supplied clear protective tape on the headstock just underneath the mark. Use a pair of scissors to make a cut where the tape meets the rectifier mount. Remove the protective film from the tape. Install the right side of the spider clamp. Install the bolts and remove the screwdrivers at the same time, making sure the spacers remain in place. There are 2 ways to route the wiring harness. The first way is to pass it over the spider clamp and secure it in place using a couple of zip ties. The second way is to pass it through the spider clamp's opening. This must be done before installing the spider clamp on the bike's frame. Please note that the harness is not long enough on some models. Before you decide which way to go, check that the length of the harness is long enough to reach the Speedo bracket position. Time to install the left part of the spider clamp. Put the clamp in its place. Install the top alignment bolt. Install the stover nuts. Tighten the bolts until the clamp has a slightly loose fit on the frame. Install the lower alignment bolt. Align the 2 parts of the spider clamp. Tighten the alignment bolts. Hand tight is enough for this task. Tighten the set screws starting from the lower ones. The goal is to stop tightening when each screw firmly touches the headstock. You'll feel the screw becoming heavier when tightening. If you're not sure, loosen up a bit and retry. Fully tighten the spider clamp bolts using a torque wrench set at 25 Newton meters. Start by the top bolt, then tighten the lower one. Time to put some thread lock on the set screws. Start with the set screws in the middle row. Depending on the use of the kit, if you plan to remove the frame clamp, undo each screw and apply some medium, usually blue, thread lock. If the use of the kit will be permanent and the frame clamp will stay there forever, use red thread lock. A couple of drops is more than enough. Tighten the screws back using the same procedure we described before. Remove the alignment bolts. Time to install the Speedo bracket. Use the supplied bolts and spacers to install the bracket on the triple clamp. Put a zip tie on the right side of the bracket. Secure the wiring harness on the bracket. Put another zip tie and secure the cables that come from the right side of the handlebar. Do the same for the cables on the left side of the handlebar. Connect everything back in its place. Install the OEM Speedo on the bracket and connect it to the wiring harness. Time to install the navigation tower. Put the tower on the bike using the supplied bolts. Install the stover nuts. Leave them loose for now. Screw in the two M6 alignment bolts. Do not over-tighten them. Tighten the navigation tower using a torque wrench set at 25 Newton meters. Completely remove the alignment bolts. Adjust the tower spine and tighten its screws using a torque wrench set at 25 Newton meters. You can always do this later and adjust the spine according to your needs and the navigation equipment you'll install. Time to install the headlight's wiring harness. Pass the harness through the tower. Connect the harness to the bike. Use a zip tie to secure the harness on the navigation tower. Tidy up the connectors with a couple of zip ties. Put the Speedo bracket cover in place by using the supplied bolts. Install a zip tie on the appropriate slots at the lower part of the cover. Repeat this procedure on the other side. Time to install the headlight on the tower. Connect the harness to the headlight. Secure the headlight on the tower using the supplied bolts. Hand tighten them until you adjust the headlight beam. When ready, torque them to 8 Newton meters. Time to install the rectifier. Connect the supplied extensions and route them through the bike's frame. Remove the 2 bolts from the rectifier bracket. Install the rectifier on the bracket. Connect the cables with the extensions. Secure the extensions on the tower using a zip tie. We recommend securing the 3-pin connector on the rectifier using a couple of zip ties. Tighten the rectifier on the bracket. Use another zip tie to secure the extensions on the spider clamp. When done, check that the cables do not touch the forks when steering. Time to install the fuse box harness. Start from the rear of the bike, close to the battery. Pass the harness through the frame. Follow the same path of the rectifier cables toward the tower. Put the connector inside the tower. Remove the side cover. Connect the fuse box to the harness. Use a zip tie to secure the connector on the tower. Install the fuse box and the side cover on the tower. Use a zip tie to secure the fuse box cable on the tower. When finished, connect the fuse harness on the battery. Time to install the cable guide. Use the supplied bolts and secure the cable guide under the lower triple clamp. This doesn't have to be super tight. Time to dress the bike up. Put back the fuel tank. Route the breathing hose in the headstock. Connect the fuel pump. Connect the fuel line. Secure the tank on the frame. Install the side panels and secure them in place using the original bolts. Install the seat. If your bike is a Husqvarna, put back the rear side panel. Time to put the windscreen on the bike. Put the lower part of the screen under the headlight. With the screen in this position, pull it upward vertically. Your goal is to pass the aluminum pins of the tower through the rubber grommets of the screen. Some lubricant in the rubber grommets always helps. Use WD-40 or a little bit of grease. Secure the quick release bolts. When new, you may need to push the receptor from the inside toward the bolt. Time to install the ram mounts on the tower. Depending on the equipment you're willing to use, you can install the ram mounts on any of the 6 threaded holes on the tower spine. Apply some thread lock and tighten them to 8 Newton meters. Your bike is now ready for its first ride. Please remember to register your kit using the information on your warranty card to enjoy the benefits of a lifetime warranty where applicable. If you need more help, feel free to send us an email to the indicated address. Thank you for choosing Aurora Rally Equipment, the most advanced kit manufacturer.